regards to this homeless thing I've been noticing, right? I know there's a push to I know homelessness has already been criminalized, but they took it way to the max now, where I guess you can't be in what they considered a public camp or even sleeping in your car, right? But what I noticed, just like you said, is that man, it's just as in our society, we value animals more than humans.
Yes.
Because I remember a guy, his name is Tony. He's a homeless advocate in Baltimore, and he said to me once, I'll never forget this, man. He said, "If you're laying down on the street as a human being, they'll walk past you, but if it's a dog or a cat, they'll take it in their house and nurture it back to health." And
Yep.
that's a sick aspect of our society that we don't want to acknowledge. Like we don't have any regard for human life. And I think that's the essence of the whole homeless vibe, because we have a homeless crisis, and you don't end the crisis by locking up people who are homeless.
Putting them in prison, but giving out $9,000 debit cards to people illegally crossing the border. Putting American citizens in prison, but creating housing and giving housing to people coming across the border. You know, we were talking earlier about fathers and fathers' rights. Like America, the government is a deadbeat daddy. Can we take them to court? You know what I'm saying? You got all of these children out here. You leaving your children on the side of the street, homeless, begging for food, hungry, but you over there with your mistress and her kids. Them ain't even your kids. Them another man's kids. And you taking care of them, and you've overlooked. All right.
Did you just come up with that line off the
I
dome?
just came up with it, and it just makes a whole lot of sense because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And it's unfortunate that our people don't see that. And it's unfortunate. I was just, I had a conversation earlier today with Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I was telling him I would love to see us get all of the Black intellectuals together and have a meeting of the minds. Like, we really need to sit down and we need to get to the table, because what I've noticed, like back to the question you said about the Republican and the Democrat, regardless of outside of those parties, I may not agree with you on party affiliation, but I do agree that we all want what's best for Black America, but how we go about getting it may be different, right? Like, I want to save Black America, but people may say, oh, you can't save it by not aborting babies, right? Or Tamika Mallory might want to save Black America, and some people might think, oh, you can't save it by, defunding the police. But what she's doing and what she's advocating for and standing for is not wrong. It's not wrong to stand up for Black men that have been unjustly persecuted, right? I just may not agree that defunding the police is the way to resolve the issue, but I agree that it's wrong to kill Black men. Me on the issue of abortion. You may not agree with overturning abortion, but you agree with me that we should be helping Black women and children in need. We all want what's best collectively for our community, but we have to sit down. We have to have a meeting of the minds. We have to figure out what is the best way to go about getting it, because as long as we are fighting each other, we are always going to be divided, and every other class and group of people is going to continue to excel while we remain down at the bottom.
Right. I wanted to talk about this. All right, you just mentioned it earlier, right? So there are many cries coming from the Black community about defunding the police force, right? But the question I have is like, we need some form of policing in the community. So like, has anyone spoken about a actual alternative if the police are defunded, that you would still have a force there with some form of accountability? Because when I hear police defunding, I hear basically eradicate police.
Well, that's another one of the reasons why I'm heavily supporting Robert F. Kennedy and Nicole Shanahan during this election cycle, because they actually do have real solutions in place to reform the police department, but while also protecting the community and its citizens, because those of us, that's from the hood, we know the police don't do right, but we also know, we got to call the police when Pookie and Ray Ray show up to rob grandmama. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like we can just call the gang members and they gonna come and they gonna handle it. 9 times out of 10, they somewhere gang banging and don't have time. Yes, we do need to have police protection, but we also need to have real solutions to protecting our community while also preserving our community and having those relationships. So community policing is one of the things that should be at the top of the issue. First of all, why are we even hiring people to come inside of our communities and police them that have absolutely no relationship to the community? The first thing we need to do is start by making sure that the police officers that are policing those areas are from those areas, committed to those areas, have family living in those areas, and actually have some type of relationship, because with relationship comes respect.
Are there any other tactics that they shared in regards to their ideology of police reform?
Yes, of course, it's diverting some funding, not all of the funding, but they also want to put a system in place where police are on a graded scale and they're being held accountable. We need to be able to weed out the good cops from the bad cops, because we know, we see a lot of these issues, but reality is it ain't all officers, okay? And a lot of us have family members that are employed by law enforcement, whether it's the military, whether it's the police department, whether it's some type of form of security. So a lot of us have people that are active members of law enforcement. We don't want to see anything happen to them either. We love them as well. We know that it's a few bad apples in every bunch, but how do we weed out the good from the bad? In the police scoring system, having police officers have accountability, getting the community more involved with decision making when it comes to police in their community, right? We might not want the homeless man on the corner to go to jail because he broke in the store and stole some food. Feed him. How active are we involved when it comes to lawmaking?
Yeah, I think that's the part. I think that's the unrealistic part.